Okay, fantastic. Hello, and welcome to the first of many 116 release team meetings. This is week one. Today is July 1st, 2019, and that's Monday. A couple of housekeeping things before we get into it. This call is subject to the Kubernetes Code of Conduct, which says, please treat everybody with respect and be awesome to one another. So everybody, this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube after this call. So be mindful of your words. This is the first of 12 weeks of the 1.16 release. And hopefully everybody has found the release note as the meeting minutes. I'm going to grab a link here for everyone. And could I get a volunteer to take notes as well? Please go ahead and place your name in the week one template, which is halfway down. I'm just grabbing the meeting link. Here we go, putting it in the chat. And go ahead and add yourself as an attendee in the week one section there with your associated role. That would be very much appreciated. I can see already everybody doing that. Fantastic. So to kick off the release team meeting, I would like to go through and actually just provide a round of introductions, starting with the leads. I guess I'll be first cab off the rank, and then we'll go around. And if you've chosen your shadows as well, please take the opportunity to introduce them. And then we'll get into the formalized agenda that's there on the minutes there. Okay, my name is Lachlan Evenson. I go by Lockie or Lachlan. I'll be your lead for 116. It's my pleasure to serve. I'm looking forward to a fantastic release. You can find me in SIG-PM. I serve as a chair there along with Stephen and a few other folks. So feel free to come there. We are the keepers of the KEP process amongst many other things. So if you have a PM related question, please feel free to reach out to me there as well. And I'm excited to introduce my shadows. I have 3 shadows. I believe they're all on the call. So I'm going to hand it over to Guinevere. Are you on the call? Hi, Guinevere. Can you introduce? Hi. Hello.
Hey, good morning. I'm Guinevere Sanger. I am calling in from Seattle in the United States, Pacific Northwest. I work at GitHub for my day job, and actually this is part of my day job. So I am really excited to see everyone and work with some of you that I've never worked with before, and get to meet some of you a little bit more. My main goal currently for this release is to improve some of the workflows that we have, and just kind of see where we can smooth things, not necessarily with automation, but hopefully with some of that. So yeah. Hi, everyone. Did I forget something?
Nope, that's perfect. Thanks, Guinevere. Jeff, are you on the call?
I am. If I start daft punking or sounding weird, just let me know and I'll type it out. Sorry, it's a little loud. My name is Jeffrey Sika. I am also a lead shadow. I work at the University of Michigan for my day job, helping researchers do stuff and facilitating workflows, and I'm hoping to kind of take what I do for my day job and apply it here as a lead shadow. A lot like Guinevere said, looking at what everyone is trying to do, seeing a lot of pain points and trying to automate away a lot of pain points, and also help Lockie whenever he needs it.
Thanks, Jeff. Is Nico on the call? I don't believe he is. Okay, well,
Nico might be on vacation.
Vacation, yeah. So Nico was one of the lead shadows in 115. So Nico is returning as lead shadow for 116. We're excited to have him. Nico works independently out of Berlin, so he keeps the European hours. And you'll see him in and out this release. I believe he has some vacation up front. Thanks, Stephen. I will pass it over to enhancements lead, Kendrick.
I know you probably want me to leave. Everybody's probably getting
No,
sick
I'm thinking about taking vacation.
No, all good. So my name is Kenny Coleman. I am the enhancement lead for 116. I was also for 115. I was also for not 115. 115 and then also 113 as well. I stuck around and did some things in 112 and 114 too. So I've been a familiar face, I think, a little bit around here for a little bit around a year now. So I'm glad to be a part of this team once again. Day job, I work for VMware. And again, part of my job is to be able to help and do cool stuff like this. So very excited to make sure that I can do that as well. This release, I'm bumping it up with additional shadows. So we're having 3 shadows on our team. I don't know if anybody on the team was actually able to make this call because 2 of them didn't have the invite. And then Mr. Bobby Tables, or Bob Killen, as everybody might not know, he is going through a house move this week. So you can imagine how much fun that is to pack up a whole house and move it. So besides Bob, we also have Maria Natalia, who's been on here also before. We also have Eddie, who's coming from Microsoft, and we have Ria, who's coming from Microsoft. So you're going to see, sorry, I said it's wrong, 4 total shadows plus me going through this particular cycle. So it should be good. Plenty of people to help pick up any slack that I end up dropping. So, but it should be a relatively fun side on our end. Bob's already kind of like updated the sheet once to kind of do some automated polling from GitHub. So we're going to start testing that out this release with some tiny bit of automation inside the spreadsheet. If anybody else that's on my team is on the call, feel free to speak up, but I did a scroll through and I didn't see any names.
All right, thanks, Kenny. Glad to have you back. We'll move on to CI Signal with George.
Howdy, everyone. My name is George, CI Signal lead. Again, was CI Signal for 115, Shadow for 114. Really eager to be here. Love this team. Look forward to working with all of you. Let me see, what else can I say about myself? I'm an SRE during the day for Vivid Cortex, a database observability company based out of the US. And actually, I see that I have a couple of of the shadows for CI Signal here, Jim and Alina. I'll let you all introduce yourselves if you are listening and available.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. My name is Jim Angel. I'm shadowing for CI Signal. I've been on the release team since 112, mainly focusing on docs, then transitioning over to CI Signal to learn a little bit more about the project. I don't know if I already said this, but I'm based out of Austin, Texas, work for General Motors. My day job is really just making Kubernetes easier. So that kind of blends right in with the release team and kind of the goal of the project. So I'm really excited to be back, and this is a great group of people.
Do you have anybody else, George? Any other shadows that would like to introduce themselves from CI Signal?
I saw Alina was online, but she might be busy or dropped out. She might have dropped out. I don't see her name anymore.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, George, and welcome, and thank you, CI Signal team. Bug triage, Marco.
Okay, everyone. I'm Marko Mudrinic, bug triage lead for this release cycle. I have been shadowing bug triage for 1.14 and 13, and I'm very excited to leading this role in this release cycle. I hope we will have an awesome cycle. I am located in Belgrade, so Central European time zone. As of my day job, I am a software developer at Lucy, and I am a computer science student at the University of Belgrade, but currently on the summer break. So, woohoo! Yeah, I am excited about bug triage and hoping that I can help to improve the workflow, how we take care of issues and so on, and we will see how will it go on.
Thank you, Marco. Moving on to branch manager, Yang Li.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yang Li. So I've been on the release team for several cycles, and I'm going to be the branch manager lead this time. So we have, I believe, 13 shadows or associates this time. So I'm very excited to see they are here, and looking forward to work with you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Yang. Moving over to Docs, Tunde. Tunde, are you on the call? I believe I saw you before.
You unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Okay, while Tunde gets his audio taken a look at, we'll move on and take a look at release notes with Sasha.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sasha. I was Shadow for 115 and now I'm leading 116. And it's a pleasure to meet you all. I think someone of you may know me. I'm located in Central Europe in summertime, so might be a little bit tricky, but we have selected 4 shadows some minutes ago. They are all not here. One of the shadows is Lindsay, which was lead for 115, and I think they will get their time to introduce themselves in the next meeting maybe.
Thank you, Sasha, and welcome. Communications, is Taylor on the call?
Hey, everyone. Happy Monday. My name is Taylor Dolezal. During the day, I work for Walt Disney Studios, leading the SRE team. Despite the number of applications we manage, it's still never as crazy as the final weeks of a Kubernetes release. I have 3 shadows that have confirmed, welcoming back David McKay, and then introducing Karen Shu and Emran Pochi that will be helping me out this release. I still have one more person that I'm waiting on a confirmation from, but ultimately, I'm really excited to have this team together, and I'm really excited to work with all of you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Taylor, and welcome. I'm going to try and pass it back to Tunde, see if his audio's been fixed. Tunde? We see you unmuted, but we do not hear you. Okay, Tunde, yeah, there we go. We got you. Although I heard you very briefly.
Yeah, we can't hear you that great. I don't know if you can turn up your mic.
Okay, Tunde, we will try again the next meeting, but thank you for joining, and unfortunately audio issues getting in the way. If you come back and you get it fixed, feel free to interrupt and we can introduce you. He dropped off. Okay, so moving on to the main part of the agenda now. So I'm going to provide an update, then move over to the emeritus advisors, Josh and Stephen, and then there's an open discussion at the end. Now, most of this is housekeeping today on the agenda, so make sure that you and your leads have joined the Kubernetes Release Team Google group. That should give you access to the Google Calendar invite for the whole schedule. And if you pop to the top of this release meeting document here, there's all a bunch of interesting links. One includes the whole release team calendar as well, if you'd like to take a look at that in its entirety. There's also info about the release, where the enhancements spreadsheet is, the retro that we'll need at the end, project board, handbooks, and a few other bits and bobs just to get you started. So go and take a look there. Moving on to the release plan. So we've proposed a schedule that you can find on the release specifics in the sig-release for 116. I can kind of share my screen here quickly so that everybody can see. All right, can everybody see my screen? Okay, fantastic. So I'm just going to pop over and do the driving from here. This specific document highlights the TLDR on all the key milestones for the release. So we're starting the release cycle today, obviously. July 30, end of day PST, we have enhancements freeze. Thursday, August 29th, code freeze. September 9th, docs must be completed and review, and we have scheduled as the release date as September 16. Now, I know that there are a few summertime holidays across different continents, so I've tried to account for that. And if you pop down to the timeline here, you'll see a breakdown in each and every milestone in the release, all the way out. But if there is a date or something that I've overlooked, feel free to let me know, or one of the lead team know, and we'll try and work on moving around that. Now, you will notice that at the end of this week, the only thing we have scheduled here is finalizing the schedule. We actually have the team finalized at the end of next week, but we're asking that people do that sooner rather than later, as there are quite a few bunch of shadows that applied. So if you can have that finished by the end of the week, time permitting and everybody responding, understanding that we do have a short week here in the US, that would be fantastic. And the first big milestone after that is kicking off enhancements tracking, which starts at the Tuesday on week 3. We also have the alpha branch manager taking care of the first alpha release as well. So that's a high level of all the milestones in this release. If there's anything that I've missed or anything that doesn't work, I'd be interested to know. So please do let us know. The other thing is we call out what are we going to do differently in this release. So there are 2 large items. There might even be 3. There's some branch management changes as well. Stephen might take us through that if there's anything worth noting on this call. But we have dissolved the test info role. There is one central tracking issue. So for the things that aren't automated and the pieces that need to be broken out into other roles, please make sure you get your handbooks updated. I'm going to go through and take a look at that, where the status of that issue is and where the associated PRs are, and make sure that everybody's comfortable with that. And the release notes. So we're going to go exclusively to PR changes being noted on the release note site rather than in the changelog markdown where they have been in existing releases. So if there's any questions about that, we did in both places for 115 and 116. We'll be only doing it in the new release note site. And I think the only other thing worth mentioning here is Emeritus Advisor. We really appreciated Josh's work in 115, so we're going to keep that role. Josh is going to be staffing it, and Josh and Stephen have been splitting the work currently, given timeline clashes for KubeCon Shanghai last week. High level, that's it. So please make yourself familiar with this document. There's a whole bunch of interesting facts here about the release. And that's just a great place to go and take a look. And as I mentioned back at the top of this document, there's a whole bunch of links here just so you can get to places quickly with these bit.ly links. So if you have any questions about them either, or you feel something's missing, let either I or the team know. The 115 retro, I would encourage everybody to go and take a look. I think we haven't scheduled the second part of the retro. Is that correct, Stephen? That might be in...
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So
yeah.
If you're part of 115 or 116, I would encourage you to come, because basically the outcome of the things that we want change and the things that were agreed on as part of the end of 115, each individual team member would be responsible for picking that up and helping work on that as part of 116. And we actually go back at the end and say, did we actually follow up on these items? So there's quite a few things there. I'd encourage you all to come. It's during the, I guess it's during the release team sig-release meeting tomorrow, is it, Stephen? And that is at 1 p.m. East Pacific? Or is it earlier? I'll put 2. Okay,
yeah,
so if you
2.
can make it, otherwise it'll be recorded and the document for the retro is there. I spoke about changes this release. Upcoming milestones is please select your release team and associated shadows, have it all locked in and PR'd, and you can update the contact sheet as well. The contact sheet helps us get out swag at the end, so there's your incentive to get that done. And July 16 is the 116 Alpha 1 release, which is first. I have this project board that we're going to start doing a rundown in this meeting of. So go and take a look and make yourself familiar with this, but this should have items for the release team specifically, or sig-release is working on, but there are pieces that each individual team can pick up here. So go take a look at the different associated areas. in the backlog specifically. And if you think you are capable of picking up one of these items, feel free to go and pick it up and move it to in progress or to do.
So one note about the release sig-release project boards, at least, there are 4 different ones because we have that much work. So don't feel that you are limited to just the release team one. There's a sig-release board, there's a release team one, there's a release engineering one, and there's also a licensing one. So you can, if you hit that projects link, you'll be able to view all of the org level boards for Kubernetes, and those will be included in that.
Thank you, Stephen. And while I have you unmuted, is there anything you want to mention about Yang and branch management in 1.16?
I can get there once we go to the, are we there? We might be there already, right? Well, you've got one more note, and then I can...
I've got one more note down here, which is the test infra role removal. So for everybody who was involved in that decision and has been guiding and shepherding it, please go and make sure that the issue is up to date and all associated PRs with handbook changes have been made, and that there is that the lead is a part of that discussion as well, because they'll be taking on the change in role, the extra responsibilities there. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to move into Emeritus Advisor updates with Josh and Stephen.
Hello, hello.
Hey there. Hey, everybody. So Stephen and I are EAing for this. And partly was because of Shanghai last week. Partly it's actually working out because we now have separate shadows for the release engineering team. And so we're going to have to develop shadow programs all over the place. Anyway, we're currently in the process of selecting shadows. I think all of the leads on this call have been involved in reviewing it. I realize that it's difficult because all of you got, and at this point, unprecedented number of applications. I think we were averaging 17 per position.
Yeah, so we had a total of 79 or 80 applications. Communications got lucky, and I think only had 3 people volunteer. But release notes had the next lowest at 17, and branch manager had the most at 28, I believe.
So, and since you've been doing this last week, you want to report status for that?
Yeah, sure. So we are just about complete on selection for all. As Lockie mentioned, there is a change to branch manager, which I guess I'll go over that first. So what we decided to do was remove the branch manager role from the release team, right? Branch management is actually a function of release engineering, and since we have a release engineering subproject, it makes sense that it lives there, right? In previous release cycles, we've gone from having a singular patch release manager for a release cycle, which essentially puts them on the hook to manage patch releases for a specific Kubernetes minor version across the lifetime of that minor version, right? So that's someone doing this stuff for 9 months or so, right? So the first thing that we did around release engineering was turn that into a team, right? So we have a set of 4 people who are ready, willing, able, and have the appropriate access to cut releases for Kubernetes, right? That was the first step. We're taking it a step further, taking branch management out of the release team, right? So now branch management is kind of like, they know a lot of the stuff that patch release management does, but maybe not all of it, or maybe doesn't have all the requisite access to do the things, right? So and then additionally, we're taking the branch branch manager shadows, the people who applied as branch manager shadows, and converting them into release manager associates, right? So what we're trying to do here is essentially build a ladder of release engineering within Kubernetes, right? A place so that we can consolidate the knowledge, make sure everything is well documented, have a team of people who are ready, willing, and able to iterate over the bash fire that is Kubernetes release, the Kubernetes release repo, right? Start rewriting some of those tools, identifying gaps. I don't know if Peter is on the call, but Peter was working over the weekend to do a bunch of shell checking on the bash scripts that are in Kubernetes release. So it was kind of like Peter tossing up a PR and me approving the PRs, and so I think we're starting to get like nice traction on the release engineering stuff. So we did something kind of, I wouldn't call it funky, but interesting. For branch management, we took on, I believe 28 people applied, and we took on 13 shadows. Our 13 release manager associates. The idea there is to gather a large team, throw them at this release engineering problem, and hopefully be in a much nicer place looking into 117, 118. So blah, 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 all that stuff. So the TLDR of that is branch management is out of the release team. It's currently under the release engineering subproject as of 116, right? In terms of selections, I have approved PRs for pretty much every role. I believe the only one remaining is bug triage. And Marco, you sent me an email earlier that I owe you a response on that stuff. But we're just about done with shadow selection. The next step, Josh and I, Josh has a informational rejection-y template for the people who were not selected. I still need to go over that stuff. I need, basically, since we've changed some of the roles, I want to tweak some of the language and make sure that we're pointing people in the right place to still get involved, even if they won't be on the release team or the release managers group. And then after that, yeah, Josh, I'll stop yapping for a second. Do you want to?
No, I think that about covers everything. We're going to have other things to go over because we have the feedback from last release cycle that we still need to go over and maybe changing things up depending on this. In the meantime, I mean, we have a lot of shadows in this meeting. If you are a lead, please make sure that your shadows have the information they need to attend the release meetings and encourage them to do so, particularly if you are unable to make a meeting yourself. One of the reasons your shadows are there is to deliver your section report if you can't make the meeting.
So an additional requirement or expectation of the leads is that you are actively mentoring your shadows, right? These are people that you are training to take over this role for you, right? So I expect everyone to be engaged in that. I expect to occasionally hear back about how shadows are doing, right? There are now exit surveys for the exit questionnaires, right, Josh, for the release team that we want to be able to make sure we're going over the feedback.
Yeah, yes, there are. And we're also going to be, in addition to what we did last cycle, we're going to be doing a check-in with all of the leads and shadows during the course of the release to see how things are going.
Right. So some of the stuff that we want to work on is we want to make sure that we kind of go through the feedback that we've gotten from the retro, and then also go through the feedback that we got on the shadows questionnaire. We got a lot of good feedback. A lot of it was like, this is perfect. There's nothing you need to do to fix this. And some of it was like, hey, it would be great if blah, right? So we're going to try to iterate over some of that feedback during this cycle. And I think that's all I got on the shadow recruitment, at least. So I think everyone lead-wise is in a good place to has their shadows locked in and PR'd. Bug triage is the last one, and Marco, I owe you something for that, but that will be coming soon. So the next item is I kind of wanted to go around the room really quick and get an idea of, I think that, part of this is setting some goals for ourselves, right? And seeing how we seeing how we perform over the release cycle on those things. I think that it would be something that's interesting and nice and time capsule to have recorded at the beginning of the release cycle to see how we fared against like our previous expectations of ourselves, right? So I kind of want to go around the room, and if you can succinctly, you know, just a few sentences, talk about like, if there's like the one thing I could achieve for my role, what is my grand goal for my role? I want to get that, right? So like if you take Aaron in 113, right? 113, he said, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make k8s a requirement for the release cycle, right? Lots of friction, right? But also lots of value, like high value out of that stuff, right? So I'll start with you, Lockie. If there is one thing that you could get done for this release cycle, what would it be?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I can contribute to this release cycle is encouraging further automation akin to something like test infra. So I would be really encouraging a lot of these roles. There's a lot of rinse and repeat. So while leads are looking at things, try and find an area that you could potentially spend some time on automation. So an example of what I heard from Kenny was that Bob's also started automating some of the spreadsheet to be reactive to what's happening in GitHub. So the test infra role was automated completely in 115 by Catherine and the team, which was a fantastic outcome. But I think just a lot of that, you know, a lot of that wash and repeat. Can we automate pieces? So I'll kind of put it out there to the leads to try and identify one piece that's right for automation. I'd really like to shepherd that through.
Awesome. That is a good one. So CI signal.
Let me see. If I one thing I would like to make sure that happens for this release cycle is to make sure that all of the shadows feel completely comfortable contributing with other SIGs. Monitoring issues, taking them up and contributing to fix them, whatever happens to be the solution for that. Other than that, I don't know. That's my only life goal.
So something additional of request instead of a goal is I would love to see succinct criteria for what release-foo jobs are, right? So release blocking, informing, miscellaneous, all that stuff. We have a general rubric right now. It is not perfect, but it is getting close. I would love to see that get iterated over for the cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, if anybody's interested in that, I was planning actually of sending a PR for that, working with Aaron and a couple of people that have been contributing to CI Signal even after they left the role.
Nice.
So if anybody wants to contribute, ping me and I'll point you to all the right places.
Enhancements.
Yeah, my goal is to just stay the course. We're going good. No, I'm just kidding. What we'll do is, for the most part, really, you know, I've already kind of talked to Bob, and I really want him to be ready to go and be able to take over for 117. So it's going to be a lot of me sort of shepherding, getting everything done, but working really hand in hand with him to make sure that he is super comfortable, ready to take over for 117, and also giving a lot of the exposure to everybody else underneath of it. I myself didn't set any lofty goals to start automating anything. I'm just going to be too busy with everything else going on in my life. So, you know, Bob's already kind of started down that path, and so I want to try to encourage him and teach or show other people where the gaps are within our current system and what we can do to try to find either something that makes sense or anything beyond that.
Cool. All right, Marco.
So I'm not very sure if is it allowed to have like two goals. Is this something that's we want? But okay, so basically the first one is to try to automate the bug triage stuff as much as possible and to see how can we improve the tracing of the issues and how are we going to take care of that. but also as another goal to see how we can improve the communication when it is related to bug triage role, that we ensure that contributors and people working on PRs, issues, that they are aware of deadlines like code freeze, when they need to get code merged, and so on.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Docs.
Hello. For me, the main goal for me this release is there was this issue that we had last release and the one before whereby surrounding like merge conflict resolution. So the goal is to make sure that does not repeat itself, and also to document the process and make sure those that come after me, especially like the current shadows, are very, very aware of the process. That's the first goal. The second goal is to make sure that most of the time docs, the action takes place towards the end of the release for docs. So I would like to make shadows to be more and more involved with every step during towards the end of the release. So that keeps them to be more informed, and also it helps to train the next leader, possible leader for docs. So those are my two goals right now.
Awesome, awesome. And release notes, Sasha.
Yeah, so I think we have multiple targets for this release, but to keep it in one sentence, I would say that we want to enhance the release notes for cross-linking documentation, like deprecations, caps, and other dependencies. And we want as well evaluate our survey, which is currently running on the release notes side. So that are our two main goals.
Cool, cool. And I see that comms has already been communicating via the spreadsheet. So
what we do. Yeah, so definitely this release, a lot of the past two releases that I was on, it was definitely a lot of ad hoc type of communication. Definitely, and that's the nature of the role, right? Depending on the cups that actually make it and the features and everything else that get released, you're not always certain on what you're going to be talking about and what actions need to be done. That being said, we could still make it generic enough that we can document what the overall goal of the process is. And then once we have that done, once we have it documented, we can actually automate that process. So I'm going to be looking to, for sure, document everything in terms of the process, what's expected of us, who to talk to, and then finally start to investigate some actions that we can actually get implemented as far as tooling is concerned.
Sounds good. So thank you everyone who took the time to do that. I don't think we've done that before, kicking off a release. So I think it'd be something that's fun just to look back on, see what we accomplished, especially during the retro. So Lockie, over to you.
Thanks, Stephen. So open discussion. I'm just going to call out, we're going to have an EU-friendly release team meeting weekly. So I think the best way to attack this is wait till all the shadows are selected, then I can send out a doodle and see what folks would like to do, and then we can get one scheduled. I think in previous releases it's come around about in the third or fourth week, if that's wanted. But I hear and see quite a few people in that region, so I think it's probably valuable not to have it at the end of Monday for everybody every week. So is there any objections to that? Wait till we get all the shadows selected, then I'll send something out to everybody and then we can go from there. Okay, are there any other items people would like to add? Anything we missed? Any questions we can answer while we're all on the phone?
Yes, I have. This is really more of a follow-up because it has been mentioned. I would be very curious to pool all of the efforts to automate in one place so that we don't duplicate work. I was not here for the last release team. I want to know what Catherine did. I want to gather all that information just so we can not come up with 5 custom solutions depending on who happens to be working on it at the time. Is there an issue? Is there it would be awesome if you could just kind of dump that into the meeting notes. Maybe this is something we can prepare for next meeting.
Yeah, it's kind of everywhere right now.
Yeah. I just want to, if people can maybe spend the week just dumping that into the release notes in a place, I can make a rubric for under today's meeting or next week's meeting. Put it on the agenda.
So I would say the best people would be, I would say reach out to Catherine, reach out to DeWall, and maybe Cheryl as well. So when we broke up the test info role, it's been divided across branch management and bug triage and test infra on call. So I don't think that bug triage got any of the responsibilities to date. That might change. But most of the stuff is broken up into test infra. So it's basically a test infra on call and the branch management playbook right now. But I would say definitely reach out to DeWall and Catherine, because they would have the best idea of what we did to break it down.
Okay. Yeah, I might ping you with username requests.
Yeah, sure. And I'll look for the issue as well.
Yeah, I've linked the specific issue that Catherine raised in the minutes there, so you can go and take a look and see if you can thread that out. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, fantastic. Well, that concludes our first release team meeting for 116. Thank you all for joining us. We will be back next Monday at the same time, and see you all then, and good luck with selecting and locking in all your shadows. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Later.
Bye.